Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen, and I would usually say welcome to Chroma, but today, welcome to my house. I'm at my house, and you're at your house, and we're going to be painting together. My studio is about 20 minutes away in Santa Rosa Beach, and I paint there, mostly in oils, and I used to host live in-studio classes. Oh, hello, I'm Kathleen. I gotta start again. Welcome to my foyer this morning. We're gonna be painting a rooster today here in my house, you in your house. So I'm an oil painter and I paint acrylics, and today we're gonna paint an acrylic rooster. And I've heard from so many of you that are joining me today and how special it is to have this time together on Facebook. My Chroma students are joining us, people who've been to my studio taking a class. Some of my oil painting students are even joining us. So let me know if you're painting in oil or if you're painting in acrylic today. That would be interesting to find out. I've got some of my Instagram followers who have been after me to do something online for a long time, and some of my teacher friends who really were looking forward to having a teacher art class. They're doing a wonderful job trying to stay in touch with their students and continue teaching during this pretty hard period for, I'm sure, for their students. So welcome, teachers. I'm wondering, are there any students out there? Are there any kids who are taking a break from their online class to paint today with us? So let us know, type in the comments. Let's see, I see people are on. Hello, Ellen. Hello, Krista. Hey, Pam, Linda, and Tina, and Chris. Hey, Chris, my golden buddy. Thanks for joining today. I'm kind of trying to give everybody a minute to hop on. And so let me tell you the plan. The plan is we're going to briefly go over supplies because I already did that in the last video. I went over extensively everything, every supply that I use at Chroma because people were asking for that. Now, do you need all those supplies to paint with me today? Certainly not. You need some paint and a piece of paper or a canvas and some brushes. So if you have those things, then you'll be ready. But I'm going to still go over what I'm using because I know people want to know that too. Then we're going to talk about the photos. I sent out the reference photos to all of my email subscribers on Saturday night. So you all have in front of you, hopefully, the color version of the rooster and the black and white version of the rooster. Then we're going to paint. And you know what? I'm not really even sure how long this is going to take because I usually take 2 to 3 hours in studio to paint with my students. But when I do that, we paint a little and then I go around and I help everybody with their painting. So it adds a lot of time. So today, I'll just be painting through. I'm going to try to go slowly, and please give me feedback on how you're doing, if you need some time to catch up, or this will be all new for me. I want to also say that we are joined today by Justin Broderick, who is my moderator, troubleshooter, and is here to smile at me while we're painting today, and I really am thankful for his help. He's going to be answering some of your questions on the comments and telling me if there are any questions. So please keep commenting because I won't be checking the comments too much as we go. I will stop to take questions at some point. All right, so let's talk about supplies. And first we will talk about our surface that I am using. And I am using a difficulties. I am using a Beak canvas, which is gallery wrapped. I've already wired it on the back, and it is, I think it's an 11 by 14. It looks like that. Anyway, hi Kelly. Kelly from Costa Rica. I hope your girls are with you. The next thing is brushes. The brushes just went down. So I am using, what am I using? I am using Wonder White brushes from Beak. I think they're their own brand, and they're pretty reasonable. I discussed them in depth on the last video. If I need something with a sharper edge while I'm painting, I'm gonna go back here to my brush box and we'll get something else. But I'm gonna start with these brushes because these are my class brushes that everybody uses when they come to class. Paint. Paint is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. I use Golden brand paints. And these are the colors that I'm using today. I'm using a Naphthol red, which I've bought in big quantity, and I have put into these little squirty bottles, which are very helpful. I'm also using a Hamsa yellow light and an ultramarine blue. So these are the three basic primaries that if you have at least these, you'll be good. Now, I do add in a few special colors. I love this Indian yellow. It's a nice complement to this yellow. This is a little more mustardy, and it's kind of a transparent yellow, and I might use that a little bit. This is a quinacridone magenta, which is kind of like alizarin crimson, and it gives a nice complement to the red. It gives a little bit more of a deeper red when we want it, and that's especially important today when we're doing a painting that has a lot of red. We want a lot of variety in our reds, so using both of these will be important. And if you don't have another red, then you can maybe add just a touch of blue to some of your red when we go into some of those deeper red areas. The last paint color is one of my favorites. My students in my acrylic class know about Manganese Blue. And I love this blue. I use it in a lot of my paintings. Here it is on the background of this painting. And I did want to mention as well that today's class is a little different than what I usually do in my paint-on classes at Chroma. Whereas students would come in and I would already have this sample made, and we would kind of use the sample as a reference and paint together to get this result. But I found that a lot of my students wanted more. They wanted to be able to go home and paint. So in the last year, I've been really, I've been thinking a lot about how to teach more to beginners. And so I've come up with a way to hopefully teach beginners that they feel more confident in going back to their house and maybe doing another painting later today. And that involves using a reference photo, which is what I do if I paint a painting in my studio. So I'm going to show you a lot of the same things, the process that I go through when I paint, and hopefully that will be really helpful to you. So back to supplies. One paint that I didn't mention is white. So I use this big jug of white gesso for my white. And if you have white paint, if you have titanium white, that's fine. I have found that whereas I am really passionate about buying a good paint to paint with the colors. The white paint isn't as important, so you can splurge on maybe a more high-end white paint, colored paint, and save money on the white by using the gesso. These golden paints are professional quality, they're high pigmented, they give a beautiful result, but they're a little pricey. So if you are just starting out and you don't have them, that's fine. If you think you want to continue with painting a lot of acrylics, then I do highly recommend investing in some good paints like golden. I have a ruler with me today to draw on a horizon line. I have paper towels. These are shop towels that I got at Home Depot, and they're very cloth-like, kind of like Viva. I have gloves because, as you can see, I've used these gloves before, and they are, I will have paint all over them by the end of the painting. So let me put my gloves on now and get ready. And I think that's about, oh no, I have 2 jugs of water because for you guys, you're gonna go and dump out your water when it gets too muddy and get fresh water. And I didn't want to have to stop and do that. We might, but I've got 2 just in case. What are we gonna put our paint on? Well, I have two options today that I might use. One is this gray palette paper, and it is by Richardson, which I get at Beak, where I order most of my supplies. And it's wonderful because you can kind of tear off the pages, and it is disposable. But in my classes, I frequently use styrofoam plates. And I'm going to use these a lot today too because I'm going to be, I know that it's really important to you to see mixing of the colors, and that's something that's very hard for beginners, is mixing colors. So I'm going to be doing this. All right. I think that is all for supplies. And then let's talk about the photos. We have, I sent to you black and white photos and color, and I think that we have put that online, right, Justin? Yeah. So in the comments, you can, if you aren't on my email list, then you can download these right now. So go ahead and do that. And I have my color photos on my laptop sitting next to me. That's how I like to paint. I think you get a rich, you get a very beautiful color on your laptop or on your computer as opposed to a printout. But there's a reason why I also use the black and white, and that is because it's kind of like a value study cheat sheet, because many painters, before they do a painting, they make a value study. And if the value is one of the elements of art, which is really important in creating form in your art. And it's just, value means the lightest color to the darkest. So when we look at a black and white photo, we can easily see the lightest to the darkest. Like mine came out a little purpley, but I can still see what's going on. And I've got the lightest right here in the feathers, the top feathers here, and in the beak. And then maybe the grass might be the second lightest. And then this is kind of a medium area in here. And the darkest dark is very easy to see, right? That is the tail feathers, maybe down here, underneath the bird, a little bit up here. The face is tricky because there's not a lot of value change in the face. And that's why I gave you another one, a close-up of the face, so that you can use that as a reference for we're looking at big shapes and values and translating that to color. So I'm gonna turn my camera so you can see my easel, and we will get going. Voila! I've got the big guy up there, the face, and I'm going to put this one up here too. Let's see. Can you see that? Yep, you guys can see that too. Oh, but before I do, let me show you what I do. Before I do any painting, I take my black and white and I make sure that it's the same layout as my canvas. And what I mean by that is that this is a rectangle, right? And it's a vertical kind of rectangle. This is also a vertical rectangle. I don't want to be using a square photo and a rectangle canvas. Or it's hard to use a square canvas with a rectangle photo. You want to have them the same so that you can do this. I fold it in half once, and then I fold it in half the other way. So go ahead and do this with me. Hi, Nene. All right. I have not squirted out any paints yet. So I'm going to do that, and I don't recommend that you put out all your paints at once either, because these are acrylics and they dry really quickly. So I'm going to be squirting out as I go, and I'm going to squirt out some yellow and a teeny bit of red, just a teeny bit of red. Then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it in the water. And I'm going to make a little puddle with my water. And then I'm going to dip into my yellow and put it in there. Look how pretty. Love this yellow. And then I'm going to put a teeny weeny bit of the red in there. And I'm going to make a beautiful orange. Okay. And then, now you could do this with a pencil or whatever, but since I don't have a pencil, I'm going to use my paint, and I'm going to take my black and white here, and I'm going to, remember I folded it in half, and I'm going to kind of put the lines in of my fold and know where that center is, because that's important when we're transferring the image over to our canvas. How are we doing, Justin? Good? Good? All right, great. All right, now I'm going to put this up. Let's see, should I put it right here? Can you see that? Yeah. So I've got my black and white, and then I draw on my canvas from my black and white. I'm not looking at my color right now. So I'm back into my real watercolory orange, and I'm even putting more water in it right now. Think of this stage of the painting as a watercolor, really. And so what I do then is I kind of play a game with myself and kind of try to figure out where the center of my canvas is. And then I measure with my canvas to see how far off I was, a little far off there. And then I measure up and down. And I need to be a little lower. Sometimes you get it spot on, and that's kind of cool, because then you're like, you know, yeah. And I'm going to even put in my little cross here. I'm going to take my paper towel and just kind of blot it out so it's very, very faint. This is going to just be a little guideline for me. And we're going to draw the big shapes that we see in this black and white right here. And we're gonna use the grid to help us do that. And I'm gonna use my orange. Now, very little of this layer will be seen in the final painting. So think of this layer as kind of like the bones of your painting. And I'm gonna start at the very center. That's how I kind of always start right here. And I'm gonna look up here and I see that the very center is the top part of the rooster's back. Do you see that? So I know that I can put a line right there, right? And that's gonna be the right spot for his back. And then I'm gonna look at shapes. I think that you can draw anything if you simplify it into shapes, and a rooster is a really good example of doing that. We look at, yeah, you guys can't really see what I'm pointing to. I'm looking at this shape right here now, which to me is a triangle, right? And then the head, the rooster's head is very little, and it's a circle. Let's think of it as a circle, right? So we've got a triangle and a circle. And we're gonna kind of use this first line we made as a guide for where to put those in. It's kind of a little bit like an angle, this triangle. And you kind of look at, okay, the head is just a little bit down from the top of the page. Maybe the head's maybe right in there. And I'm a little too dark with my color. I don't want it that dark, but.
And it may help to bring the canvas to the screen every once in a while to show what you're doing a little clearer.
Okay, will do. Now, you can either draw shapes in, or we can totally block them in, like I'm gonna do now. And we want to do this really lightly, right? Really super light, okay? You don't want this to be opaque. You want it to be kind of transparent and watercolory. And look, I got some runs, and so that's okay. I just wipe them up. And those who know my painting know I kind of like runs anyway. All right, so we got the rooster head, we got the triangle. We'll worry about the other parts of the head a little bit later, but right now we're just going for basic shapes. And so this part, I'm going to think of this part here as a square. Can you see that? Square right there. And I'll make it a little bit more orangey so you can see it on here. It's kind of a square, but it's kind of tilted. So see this line we've got here, a little tilted, and then I'm going to do a square. And I see that my square comes almost down to a good part of the bottom of the painting. This is the body of the rooster. This nice square. Right? Oops, was blocking you, sorry. I'm gonna paint it in, fill it in. So we're blocking in our rooster with shapes. Next is the tail, right? So I see a triangle in this tail. I see a couple triangles in there. Which way should it be? Maybe that way. Let me show you. So I'm gonna always, remember where that center is, and I'm gonna start my triangle pretty much at that center and go up, and I see that my top of my tail feather is not quite to the rooster head, so I don't want to go any more with that triangle. But it does come out over to almost the edge of the page, or the canvas. So, Look at that. Put your triangle in there. And now I'm gonna paint it. This is super rough, right? This is nothing fancy, no details, very, very rough. I'm not being real careful with my brush strokes. You can see I'm kind of just blocking it in. All right. So now I'm gonna look at the overall shape of my rooster and see if I feel like I need to fatten him up at all, or if I've got things in the right spot. And it will help probably to put in these extra parts. We're gonna put in the comb of the rooster. And so again, we're not being super fussy at this time. I just want to get in a basic shape of this comb area up here. And I'm going to take it off and show it to you closer in just a second. And then I'm going to get in this wattle part right there. It's the wattle, right? And we'll be able to go back in and really delineate more of that shape in the next layer. But I think my rooster is, I always like a fat rooster, so I'm gonna plump it up just a little. And it's at this point that you can soften up the rooster a little bit. You know, we've made some really hard edges with the lines. So if you would like a curvier rooster, maybe that belly curves a little bit, right? And then I'm gonna put in some leg. This is kind of the thigh of the rooster, and then some feet. And I think that roosters only have 3 toes, so if anybody knows, you can post it. 1, 2, 3. And another leg. Now they can kind of overlap, which makes it feel, you know, kind of more real when the legs are not, you know, not touching. So go ahead and make that shape of them kind of connected. And I think that this maybe needs a little more filling in, and I'm continually dipping my brush in my water so I'm not getting too dark. And now I can kind of get a feel for maybe how this feather's gonna go back here with this shape. Great. And one last thing before I show you up close, I'm going to put in a little horizon line, which is why I have the ruler, and maybe right about there, right? So that the rooster isn't floating, he's walking on some beautiful farm. So here is my first layer of my rooster. So I feel that if you are happy with this stage of your painting, if you like this shape, because look, we can see the rooster already. I mean, it's like almost done, right? I didn't put the beak in. Let's put a little beak. It might not be in the right place. But anyway, so how's yours look? Are you happy with it? Because you got to be happy with it at this point. And if you're not, then go ahead and make changes. I mean, if I wasn't happy with this, I just take maybe a little darker paint and change the shapes a little bit. You really want this to have a good foundation for your next layers of painting. I'm gonna get my drips. Okay, So this, I'm going to put this up here for reference later. And think about the next stage of the paint. I'm going to put away my beautiful orange watercolory plate here. And I always clean off my brush in the water. And if I don't have time to clean it off and put it down, then I just stick it right in the water because acrylic brushes or acrylic paint dries quickly. So it'll dry right on this brush and it'll ruin the brush really. So you want to either just stick it in the water until next time or wash it off and put it to the side. Because I am using two brushes today. I'm using a smaller brush and a larger brush. And I'm going to switch to this larger brush now, I think. All right, what are we doing? I usually like to start a painting with the darkest area. So in our painting, we'll look at the color version, and we talked about how the tail feathers were the darkest area. So let's start there. So I'm going to take another plate and put a little water in it. I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and squirt out a bit. Now that area is very dark, and if you look at it, I like to look at the colors and exaggerate some of the colors that I see. And I see purple in there. I see blue. There's highlights that are lighter blue. So to get just a wee bit darker than this blue, I'm going to put a little bit of this magenta color in there and dip my brush in the water, dip it in the magenta, and swirl it around in the blue. It doesn't change it that much, but it really maybe gives it a little richer feel to it. And then I'm going to start to paint with it, and I'm still thinking big shapes. I'm not thinking of individual feathers so much as the big shape of that tail feather. Maybe a little more magenta. Okay, so I hold my brush in the back here. You want to kind of use your arm as you paint, and I like to paint with this flat area of my brush and lay the strokes down with that. All right, so I'm going to try to be real fluid with my brush stroke here, and notice how I'm leaving some of that beautiful orange peeking out from beneath here, and I love that in a painting. So if you like that, go ahead and make sure that you are leaving some orange there too. There's kind of a bit of a feather that goes up straight. I'm putting a little bit more blue on my palette to change the color just slightly, and kind of going up with some shapes of that will be feathers. We will really refine these feathers later, but that's a good start. That's a good start. So with acrylic paint, it dries really quickly. I'm going to clean off my brush, and while this is still wet, we're going to do a little wet and wet painting, which you have to do quickly when you paint in acrylic. When I paint in oils, it takes a long time to dry, and you're able to paint wet and wet a lot, which is really nice. So what I did was I squirt out a little of my magenta, and I'm going to run that through and see what kind of result we get, wet and wet. I really love the blending of the colors. at this point, you don't want to go over the whole thing, but just put in a little bit of different color. Now, if you don't have this did I say magenta? Manganese blue. If you don't have this beautiful manganese blue, just if you have another color blue, you can try using that. Okay. Now remember, we're going to come back into this area later. So I'm pretty happy with it right now. Whenever I paint, I try to think about the painting in a very unfinished way and leave it until the very end of the painting to put in some final touches and detail. I never want to finish a whole section first and then move on to the rest, unless it's a really big painting, and then you kind of have to do some different things with that. But in a painting like this, I like to keep my options open and keep it in a very unfinished state of being, so that later on, when I'm painting a color over here and I go, oh, that would look really cool in my tail feathers, and then you can kind of put some of that color in there. But if it's all finished, then there's no room to put that, and you can get more of a cohesive feel. Because if I finish this first and then kind of went on, it might have a different, I might be in a different mood by the time I get to over here, and it might look totally different. So very unfinished area. Oh, I did also want to mention that the rooster is kind of a goldeny orange color, and I'm not going to make them goldeny orange. I'm going to do more of the rooster colors like in this example. Instead of making the body of the rooster orange, I'm going to keep it red. Now I'm feeling the orange today a little bit more than I did when I painted this, so I'm going to try to incorporate a little bit more orange, and then I'm going to make this top feather part much lighter than the photo, because like I said, you really want to exaggerate and make your painting work. You don't have to follow exactly as it's shown on the photo, because you are the artist, right? You can choose what to do and what not to do. And if you understand your values, it makes it a whole lot easier to change up those colors. For example, many of you have seen cow paintings that I've done where I painted the cow in blue or pink, and they work, right? You know it's a cow, but they're blue or pink, but it works because it's got those correct values in it. So that's kind of more of an advanced thing, but I did want to throw that in there to let you know that it's okay to switch up the colors. And you can follow along with me, or you can do your own colors too. So whatever you feel like. So let's see, while I've got my blue out, is there any other place that I want to put that blue right now? And I don't think so. So I'm gonna put that palette aside for a moment, and then look at my reference, look at the color photo, and think about where to go next. Now I know this area is still a little wet, right? So if I put anything in here, it's going to blend. So I really don't want that at this point. So I think we might go up into the face and do an initial layer of red. I think the face is a challenging part of this painting, and we're going to jump right in. So I have a new palette. I'm going to put some of my magenta, a little bit. I'm going to put some red. I'm going to put some most of you will definitely have this yellow. This is a very true primary yellow. Mine's coming out really slow. I'm gonna put some of my favorite Indian yellow next to it. And it's at this point that I'm gonna introduce a little white. So I'm gonna go into my big bucket of white and scoop some out and put some there. Okay, so here is my palette, and I'm going to mix up a few colors. I'm going to go back to my smaller brush because this is a delicate area where you might feel more comfortable using a smaller brush. All right, so remember how I said that I like to do the dark areas first, right? So look at the photo up here of our rooster head. What is the darkest darks in there? Right here, maybe? And again, I'm looking for shape. I'm looking for those shapes, right? It's all about the lines and the shapes and the colors and the values. That's what's going to make your painting work. So here's a big shape of a big triangle that's kind of dark. It's got some light whiskers in it, but I want to paint that underpainting a little darker. In the wattle, there's a darker area here and here. I see a darker area up here in the comb, maybe, in the front. And it changes, gets a little lighter, maybe a little darker again back here, right? So for that darkest dark red, I'm going to mix some of my magenta and some of my red. Right? Maybe more magenta than red. And then I'm going to, let's start with the wattle. And it's okay to go over those areas that are lighter, but I think that it's also important to do what we just did and look carefully before you do, so you know what you're going to have to do down the road. But get in this dark here. And remember there was that triangle part here. And the comb pretty much starts like right above the beak. Right? So remember what we said, that was kind of dark and it was kind of dark back here in the back of the comb. Oops, got a little run.
That photo on the left's blocking it a little bit.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Right, so then I'm going to clean my brush off real quickly and go into my red. I'm going to go into pure red and then kind of fill in, well, a little water, because I want it to be have a little blendy kind of consistency. Go up into my comb and you're just going for the general shape of it. Don't worry too much if it's not exact. It's better to have something that's a shape that's a little bigger than too skinny and small, because what we're going to do later is we're going to come in and we're going to paint the background, and then it's at that point that you get to really carve in those shapes up there. So we got to give ourselves something to work with in terms of a nice shape up here. And I always tell people who are watching me paint, I kind of liked it the way that drip is going down in there. I'm going to leave it. That your painting, or at least my painting, always look really kind of rough in the beginning. And even throughout most of the painting, it looks very undone, right? Which is purposeful, I told you that. But it kind of looks bad in a way. You know, somebody not quite knowing where I'm going might think, well, that's really bad. But you know what? I found that one of the most important qualities that an artist should have is patience. So I trust that I know where I'm going. I trust the process. And so I'm able to keep it in this really unfinished, kind of bad, you know, maybe looking state at this time, knowing that I'm going to get there, okay? So you got to trust yourself, know where you're going, and you'll get there. So we've got this, oh, let's do this, because I always like to kind of put in the eyeball, and that always kind of makes them seem real. And so I'm going to go back to my blue here, and I'm going to put the end of my paintbrush in there and kind of see, okay, so the eyeball is very horizontal with this beak, kind of, and it's a little farther back in the head. So let's see how it looks there. Now while I'm here, while I have a little bit of paint on the end of my beak, I'm going to just put in a little line there for my beak. And we're going to work on that. But for now, that gives it, if you look up here, there is kind of like a little line there. Now most of it I want to cover up, but I want there to be some little impression of that line in there. So I'm pretty happy with that, okay. And then I'm going to go back to my red. What color should we do the area around the eye? It does look a little lighter. How about this? Let's take some of our red and some of our yellow and make an orange. And the key, I think, to doing a rooster head, because it's so easy to just make it all one color, make it all red, and it has so much more interest if you are using different colors. And like I said before, you can use any color if it's the correct value. So this, if you're just looking at the painting that I showed you before, the finished one, you wouldn't necessarily see all these little subtle color changes, but it makes a big difference. So look, we've got this pretty orange, and now I'm going to see how that looks around the eye and on the face. How far over? About there. Know that this isn't the final version either, right? We're going to come back in here with more red and really define things. This is just the first go round here. Now, and there's this really great light shape here. I don't know what that part is called, but we'll put that in later, much later, because it's so light. So you want to realize that that's there and remember to put that in later. But we've got this little shape too that's kind of under that nice oval shape, and it's a little bit lighter. What color? We've got red, we've got orange, we've got magenta down here. I think I'm gonna with, how about if I mix the orange and the magenta? We get another slightly different color. There we go. That's a good idea. So we're thinking of a shape, a general little shape to put in there. Notice that it's not perfect, but it's a great start, right? Little blob right there. Yeah, I really like what's going on now. It looks a lot like a watercolor, doesn't it? All right, now I've got my red out. Where else should I go with my red? I think that I will continue along in the body. Is everybody happy with their rooster head so far? So I'm gonna clean off my brush and I'm gonna switch to my big brush. We didn't use the white yet. I know I told you to put it out, but we'll get to it. So I'm gonna think about the body. I'm gonna do the body in this red-orange color. I'm gonna think about it very similar to what I did with the head in getting lots of rich, different colors in there on this stage.
Real quick, before we move on, Heather's asked if we can zoom in and see the face.
Oh, yeah, great idea, yes. All right, here is the face, my face. See? It's very simple, very crude, rudimentary. You've got you're just blocked your nice colors in there. Hey, Heather. Are the kids with you? Heather's my friend. She lives on a farm in Indiana. She's an artist too. Okay, we're gonna do the body now. Got my big brush, and I think that I need a little bit more magenta. I'm gonna squirt that out. And then look at the shape that you want to make here. And I see that I want the body to be red, but you got to realize that here is a nice shape of this. Here's the wing right here, right? And then here is another shape of some feathers that are going to be a different value, right? So I want to kind of leave those out a little bit to remind myself where they are and when to put them in after I get this body shape of red. So I'm going to look for a moment. That's another very, very important trait of a good artist, is the ability to look before you paint, to really see. Sometimes I've heard instructors say that you see more than you paint, or you look more than you paint. So I might look at this for 30 seconds or a minute, and then put down one stroke, and then go back and look again, really look, and then put down another stroke. So right now I'm looking, and I'm realizing that I want the bottom of the rooster to kind of be a little darker, because that's going to be naturally where the rooster is darker, on the underneath part that's not getting the sun. And so I'm going to mix my magenta and my red a little bit. Get that little darker red feeling going. And holding my brush in the back, I'm going to put down a nice stroke of color. Need a little water. I'm going to go into the leg a little. I'm thinking big shapes, remember? And I'm going to kind of indicate where I want some of these break lines to be with these feathers. They're kind of going this way a little bit, that way.
We had a question of what colors we're using again to mix.
I'm using magenta and red mixed together. So if you don't have magenta, you can use just red, and then we're gonna make an orange too to kind of go in here too. Right? So I know that are you guys getting drips too? I know that I've got this shape here, this triangle, right, of wing, and then I've got this shape kind of coming down here, right? So I'm gonna leave that kind of open for now and put in, think of this as the under part too of the feathers, right? Where we can put lighter values on top of it to give it that depth. Oops, got a little purple mixing going on there. Okay. I like that, right? You've got, because up here we've got that lighter value, that lighter feather, right? But underneath we want that rich red so that the white can pop on top of it. Now I'm going to go and this feather area here is slightly lighter. I'm going to mix a little bit of red with my yellow. And you don't want too much red because red really takes over. So a lot of yellow, a little bit of red. A little water. All right, and now I'm going to put in this these feathers, and it's okay if it blends at this point. I kind of like I like that here with the red. I'm putting in some strokes, some straight strokes here. I'm going to leave a little bit of peaky holes in there for my orange to remind me to put in a little extra lightness, or even leave it that color because it is showing lighter at this point too. So while I have this nice orange out, I might put a little up here to fill in. Maybe go up the back a little bit. Well, I have it on my brush, just kind of looking around, right? I'll blot that out. I think my rooster's gonna have another leg. Okay, let me show you up close. Put my brush in the water. See how we've got some really pretty changes in the red and the orange in there. I like that a lot. Again, it looks like a watercolor at this point, and I really like to build up in layers and keep some of these beautiful under layers showing. All right, well, what's next? I think what I'm going to say will surprise you. And that is that I would like to do the background next. And there's a very specific reason why. Often when I would do my classes, I would get to this point and we'd mix up the background paint and we would put it in, and you have to paint all around what you've already painted, right? So inevitably a student would say, Kathleen, why didn't we just do this first, right? Why didn't we just paint the whole background, then paint the rooster on top of it? That would be a whole lot easier. And I agree, it would be a whole lot easier. So when someone asked that question, I would always say, well, I would think about it and say, well, it's just not as interesting that way, right? But there's an even better reason. And that reason is something that it took me a while to figure out. And I'm really a big proponent of learning the basics of art and the elements of art, line, shape, form, color, texture, and space. And space is kind of like an abstract, I mean, you can understand line, shape, form, texture. You can understand those really easily, but space, what the heck is space? And it took me a while to really get it, but I got it through working with my students in explaining this phenomena of painting in the back of the painting. And what we're gonna do by doing that is it's going to make us more aware of the shapes that are in between all of these shapes that we've already put in. For example, we're gonna paint, remember how I said we're gonna go in and we're going to, now when we do the background, we're gonna put, get really more specific with getting these shapes done correctly, right? So we're gonna do all that. We're gonna come around here and oh, look at that beautiful triangle shape right there. Well, by painting the background, you are more aware of that negative shape right there that will add so much to your painting when you put it in. You'll use the background color, put it right in there. We'll put it right in there, right? You will be more aware of this beautiful negative shape between the legs. And so that is space. And that helps your painting be more interesting. It helps give it form, and it helps it be, look more realistic. So I love space, and let's get going on mixing up the background color. Now I plopped out a bunch of white before that I didn't use. So I'm going to transfer some of that white onto another plate. And you're going to need quite a bit more than we have been using of the other colors. So I'm gonna even get a bit more out. And I'll show you how much in a second. Right. I've got maybe about 3 or 4 tablespoons of white. Then I'm gonna take, you got it, my favorite little manganese blue, and I'm gonna squirt out a bit of that. And what else? I want to have a little bit of my yellow out too, but not necessarily on this palette. I'm just gonna put it out on one of my other little plates to be ready when I need it. All right. And so let's think, remember, we're gonna look at our painting and see where we're gonna go. What I think I'm gonna do is have a nice blue background, but then down here in the foreground, I want more of a green color, and then maybe a little blue back here to kind of make it feel like that's farther in the background than the area up here. Maybe green into blue, and a little darker blue here, a little lighter blue up here. Right, so, oh, this is a great time to get new water, by the way. Mine is a very lovely purple, and I'm gonna switch it out for some clean water. Perfect. Clean water. So today, what we're going to do is use our brush to kind of mix the color. But this isn't the best way to mix the color. The best way is with a palette knife, because you'll see what happens. We've got our big pile of white. We've got our manganese, and I'm going to dip my brush into my manganese and mix it into my white. And if I was painting painting a large painting in my studio, I would definitely be mixing with a palette knife. Sometimes it's hard to mix with a palette knife on these styrofoam plates, but just wanted to give you that option as well. Now this is a very personal thing too, is the color that you want for the background. How dark, how light. I'm feeling like leaning a little lighter because we've got such bright, strong colors in the Rooster, and I want to keep this a lovely kind of a Tiffany box blue, right? But yours may be a little darker, maybe a little lighter. Sometimes I even put a little touch of yellow in there and lean it towards green. All right, so hopefully we're dry. I think we are, because I've been talking a lot, huh? And so it's given the painting a lot of time to dry. And I'm gonna start with the top. Now, look at what your first stroke down. Do you like that color? If you do not like it, immediately go back to your palette and keep mixing, because you've got to like this color, and we've got to have a bunch of it mixed up, because you don't want to have to recreate this color when you get down here and realize, uh-oh, I've run out, and then you always tend to get a little different color. And you don't need a lot of water. This can be very thick going on, very opaque. I'm not going into my comb yet because I want to switch to my little brush with that. So I'm going around where those lighter feathers will be. I'm gonna go over the red a little bit so that you can really get the shape that you want. I'm gonna, yeah, look at that. Just kind of got rid of those little fuzzy bits on the end. Okay. I'm gonna put my brush, clean my brush off, put it in the water, and get my little brush. Actually, I'm gonna switch here. Now I want to have, the best thing would be to have a really nice sharp edge on your brush to do this section between the areas of the comb. So you're looking, actually I should take this down because I'm really looking at these shapes now, but very closely, and trying to get those. Can you see? No, you can't see. I want to go into this back a wee bit. Look at that. See how much that adds? Just that little touch right there, breaking up the shape, going around your comb. This is kind of roundy back here. Then these are pointy. So I'm going to, this is a big shape, right? Remember I made it big, so now I'm going to break it up. I'm going to go into it, right, with that.
That may be so fine that you have to show it up close.
Okay, okay. All right, let's go. Let's do this up close. See how this was a big shape here, and I went into it with my brush, right? So this shape here looks kind of like that one. So for interest, you want a little different shape. So I'm gonna carve it out with my brush here, make that a little different shape. Now know that we're gonna go on top of here and play a little bit more with the red too. So this isn't the final end all be all. Whoops. They're kind of pointy bits up there, but you can make them round. You could do what you want. And then, oh, okay, so look, I've got this kind of sticking out a little bit here, and I'm gonna make that a little flatter, because that really doesn't do that, does it, in the photo? It's kind of more of a straight line. I think I want to break this shape up a little too. This back here. So I'm going to go into that. Just a little dot. That's good. And see, you know what though, now that I'm looking at it too, these are all kind of ending at the same point, so that's not good. I'm going to bring this down a little. See how much more interesting that makes the shape, right? So just continue around. I wouldn't recommend using this little brush for the whole background, but it's okay for right around the head. Okay. Let's see. One more thing. I'm gonna go in a little bit right here. Break up that shape, and then come down.
That piece of paper is just
Is in the way. Okay, well, I've just realized something, that this area needs to come out a little bit more. I'm seeing that the shape of the head kind of comes out a little bit. So let me give myself a little reminder about that and just bring that out with my just a little dab of orange. Okay, smooth out some of those bits. Got my big brush, and I'm going around the wattle, which is fun to say. I'm going to break up, there's two little pieces, so I'm going to kind of try to break them up a little bit and kind of go under that a little bit. I'm going to go up to my horizon line. Sometimes people have a hard time going over the paint that they've already painted, and you don't want a separation. So do go either right up to that color, or I even go just a wee bit over that color. And you know, I am going to enjoy this part, because here's where I'm looking at those negative shapes in here and trying to put them in the tail. So I'm just like laying my brush down and creating the shape. Next one, kind of, and you know, again, it doesn't have to be exact like the photo. We just want to use that as a guide. But look how that opened it up. It just opened up that tail, and you can see through it, and it makes it real. And it's you know, something that we didn't have to worry about in the first stage of the painting. Remember I said, you know, trust your process, and you know you're going to get there. You know you're going to get to that part. You don't have to put it in now. I'm going a little over into the foreground, and that's okay, because, you know, I didn't mention this already, but acrylic paint is super forgiving. So if you make a mistake, you can usually paint over it. And we are going to paint over this, maybe, when we do the bottom. I'm leaving some of that beautiful orange peeking through, because I just love that. Gives the painting kind of nice, a little warm underglow. I'm looking. Making an interesting shape there. Got a little drip run here. And sometimes if you find that, I'm gonna kind of go in here, change that shape a bit. Ooh, like that. If you find that you're not covering the color underneath it like you want to, the tendency is to keep painting over it, adding more paint when it's wet, but that doesn't work. So you have to wait till it dries and then put another coat over it if you really want to cover an area that just doesn't seem to be covering on the first go around. How's everybody doing with their background? Are you up to speed? What colors now? Oh, you're ready. You're ready to go on. I see that. Okay. Next color. Let's do a green. Okay, brushes in the water. I'm going to use my big brush though, so I'm going to clean it off. And I've got my blue still out here on the palette, and I'm going to stick a little yellow in it. See what we can do there. That makes green. Now green is a very tricky color for painting, because if I took this green just like that and put it on there, woo, that is just really bright, right? And it's very unnatural looking. So I'm going to stick a little orange in it, and or red, because I don't really have much orange left. So just like a wee teeny bit of red. My red's plugged up. This is a trick. Stick the toothpick in it, open it up. Give me a little bit of red. And the red will, just like the corner of your brush, stick it in there, and it's going to give you more of an olivey green for this underpainting. And green's so hard, so if you're just not getting a green you like, or keep mixing, like, that's okay. I'm going to put a little more yellow in it. And mixing colors is one of the hardest things for beginners. Sometimes you feel like you're mixing more than you're painting, so don't feel bad about that. But I kind of like that green now, which is, I put a little more yellow into it. And this isn't going to be the final green, but it will be, woo, that's kind of bright. Maybe I'll put a little bit more, a little white, which is got a little blue in there, right? But now, that's kind of like a, I don't know. I don't really like it. I'm going to put a little more yellow in it. Oh, let me try another yellow. Plugged up. There we go. That warmed it up, didn't it? Ooh, yeah, that's better, I think. Maybe just a touch more white. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, I'm just painting this thing kind of as a flat color now. Remember I said that we're not going to worry about details until the end? So if we want to, at the end, we could come in and put some little grasses and stuff like that. But right now we're just getting a good base on there. And so you do want to paint around your legs and feet. And you see I've got a big hot mess going on here with my legs and feet. So I've got to really look and try to reestablish them. And look, I was able to cover up that big old drip. You want to get your brush, your sharp part of your brush in between the toes, right? And guess what? I hear my students in my head saying, do we paint the side? And the answer is yes. So go ahead and paint the side of your canvas. Maybe we didn't on the top part, but you'll be happy when you are done that you don't have to go back and paint the sides. There we go. Now, I just painted right over a toe. So don't worry, we can put that toe in after. You know where I'm going here with this negative shape, right? Look at that. And I'm not too worried about that big red drip. Paint over that a little bit later. So notice how I left a layer in there where I didn't paint. And maybe you painted your whole thing, and that's okay. But I'm gonna mix up a little manganese blue and white. I just stole one of my old palettes here to kind of mix in, which has a little purple in it even. It's nice to reuse what you can, right? And I'm getting a little darker blue here. Although it's kind of mixing with the watery color here, and I'm gonna see why I have to wear gloves. Messy, messy. Okay. So I've got a lovely bluey purple color, and I really like to mix it well in here. I don't like to have like colors, different colors on my brush. That's just me. And I'm gonna stick that in too. And this kind of will be a little farther in the distance of our foreground. Look, look, look. Huh. Need a little bit there, don't we?
And Brett had a question real quick.
Sure.
He asked, do shadows caused by the direction of light come in the final details?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm looking at the photo, and the shadows that I see in the photo, there are no shadows on the ground. So what we'll do in the foreground here eventually is we will put a lighter color in to kind of give it the kind of feeling that it has now with a little bit of grass going on down here. But I don't see any shadows down there. I see shadows in the rooster, like right in the front here. It looks like the sun is coming from the top, doesn't it? Because this part's a little bit more lit than this part over here. And this top feather is a little bit more lit. These are a little more lit. Oh, I see what you mean now. It's covered up in my color photo, but on the black and white here, there is a little bit of shadow, isn't there? Going straight out. That's a good catch. Well, let's put that in with maybe add a little bit more blue, because it is a darker value, right? Let's put that in now. Good call. Yeah, that really adds a nice touch. Great. I like that. Excellent. So now that I have this nice color mixed up, I'm thinking, well, where can I put this else in the photo to kind of bring everything together? And we have kind of a dark base here in the tail feathers. Let's use this color to define some of our lighter areas, like these in front. They're too feathery, kind of light. And notice how I'm just kind of making some loose marks with my brush. I don't want to cover up everything, but I want to give that light illusion, give it depth a little bit. Now come down over this area too with some of your paint. You never want one area to stop like that, like at a break point. We're definitely going to come into this with some color, but I don't want to do too much. Don't do too much, because then you'll lose your nice underpainting and darker values. There's a couple of little ones over here. Yeah, I like that. Very nice. Okay, one other thing that I didn't mention yet, and I didn't do it yet, was to step back from your painting and have a look. So I'm gonna go way in the back there and look at my painting, and sometimes it'll jump out at you and say, hey, this area needs some help. Yeah, I like him. Now, one thing that stood out to me was, boy, it's really looking flat, right? So we really have to do a good job now with getting those different values in so that we can build the form. And we're starting to do that with the tail feathers. How are we doing on time? Everybody good? Still sticking around? All right, well, let's keep going. where to go next. All right, I think I have an idea, and this will really help the painting come together a little bit more quickly, and this is with our white. Let's do our white in the painting, and that will really get these values going. And so I want a clear jug of water. Actually, would you get me a clear? Dump out. Thank you. And I want a nice new plate for me of white paint. Don't use one of your other ones because we don't want any other colors in here. So I'm scooping out new white. And you don't need as much as we needed for the background. And I have a theory that, or not my theory, but, oh, thank you. And I'm sure I've heard it from a teacher along the way somewhere that said, never use white paint straight out of the tube. It's not natural, and white always has a little bit of color in it, whether it's a warm color or a cool color. And so we're gonna make this top feather area we're gonna make it a warm white. Now we have this really nice underpainting in orange, and so if we look at our color photo reference, it is kind of orange under there, right? So we're gonna go on top of it with some real good white strokes of color of white with just a wee bit of yellow in it. So let's mix that up. You wanna have a very clean brush. We don't want any blue in this. Okay, so, ooh, I think I have some blue in there. I'm gonna wash it out again and mix it up. And I didn't finish what I was telling you before about why you shouldn't mix with a brush. So I wanna show you that. So we're mixing. You just want to take off the whiteness of it. You don't want it to be a real yellow. You just want to kind of tint it a little white. Okay, so this is why you don't want to mix with your brush. Look at that. You've got this big old gloppy brush, and if I needed this brush right now to put down a really sharp stroke, it wouldn't be able to do the job. So usually what you have to do at this point is pull out that paint. And I know students go, oh my goodness, we're gonna waste all that paint. And you do waste a bit of paint that way, but then look, you get a nice sharp edge. All right, so I've got my little white with yellow and not too yellow. Oh, it almost looks beigey, you know, right? So I've got my brush with my nice sharp edge, and I'm going to, still I'm not going to make little bitty strokes. I'm going to try to think a little bit bigger, but I am going to think about the way that the feathers are moving, right? So the feathers are kind of moving this way, and I'm using the edge of my brush. And very important to keep some of that orange peeking through beneath your white strokes, right? Because that's what's going to help this give it depth, right? And make this white pop. And I like to just kind of put in my strokes, you know, very tentatively in this part, because I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to lose too much. I want to keep my options open. So I'm moving around a lot. We've already said this area was a little darker, so I'm not going to put anything out here right now. Now, when we put some final touches in, we'll throw out a few stray feathers out there, but right now I could kind of let some feathers kind of fly off the back here, because this area is kind of done, right? These are, and you don't want all your strokes to be soldiers either. You want them to be different widths, different shapes. The nice orange bits peeking through. I'm going to break up that. Oops. See, I got a little globby thing there. That's not good. All right. Kind of can refine. Maybe put a few more little pieces going down here into the white. I always like to add a few little dips and dots and little pieces that aren't kind of connected. Really like that, so I want to keep that for now. Keep those options open, right? I'm gonna, yeah, I'm not sure about that bit right there. Yeah, cover that up. Go around the wattle and up underneath it just a little bit. And sometimes when I'm doing a rooster painting, and I've done a lot of rooster paintings, I look at it at this point, and in the head, whenever I do this next part, it always helps so much, right? So I'm gonna switch to my little brush. Make sure it's clean, and get my hair out of my eyes. And we're gonna put in this, the top part of, let's see, let me show you. The top part of the rooster's head with this white part here. And I find that by doing that really helps that face start to come together. So think about it in terms of just you're touching lightly, you're touching and making little shapes.
Could you show it up close?
Do it close? Okay.
If you could,
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Here we got here. I'm looking at my black and white for this, and I see that the white bit comes a little over the eyes, kind of close to the eyes actually, right? And we connects back here. Can you see? Kind of comes out a little. And it's kind of pointy over here, so I'm gonna go back in and make a little dot. And you know what? Kind of goes up a little, but you know what? I'm getting too fussy, aren't I? I'm starting to put in details that I really haven't worked back into that comb area. If I start to put in some wild hairs up here, then I might cover those up when I do more red, but that's okay. I mean, if you do, you can always come back into it, but I'm gonna be patient, and I'm going to trust that I'm gonna come back and and get that in my final bits. Now, while we're here, let's put in the light is hitting the top of the beak. So let's put that in. I think that's going to need a little more finessing. Oops, you couldn't see me. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to need a little bit more of my background color to help shape that beak. But right now, I am seeing something else that I want to put in on the beak. And so I'm going in with this blue right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of blue, that blue, which is lighter than that line that I made. I'm going to put this over here so I can paint a little bit with more detail. And put a little line in underneath there. I like that. Now that still needs a little help of going around it with the background, but it's telling me that this is the bottom part of the beak where the shadow is. Still needs help, but it doesn't, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Good. All right. So my white areas didn't quite cover, and so I think they're getting a little dry. I'm going to see if I can go back in and go over them with a little bit more white. And especially down here when I covered the red, doesn't cover all the way. I'm going to step back a minute and see how it's coming. Oh, good. Not bad. I think that I want to think about this shadow here now and the wing, because those are a similar color and value. Oh, I know what to do. I have an idea. Let's do pink. So I'm going to use some of this white that I already have out on another plate, and I'm going to mix up some pink. So now I have two different reds, so I'm going to see which one I like better, because you just never know, right? So I'm going to mix up one with my regular red and one, oops, I got a little blue in there. One with a little bit of magenta in it. And these are going to give us very different pinks, but again, we're going to use these pinks in the face and in the body, and it's going to add a richness to the rooster. We're going to look at it and think it's a red rooster, but it's got all these pinks and oranges and great different colors in it. So let's mix that. This is a cool pink, right? And I'm going to wash out my brush a little bit and mix up this one, which is a warmer pink. Look how pretty. So are they light enough? They're pretty dark. And which one do I want to use? I'm going to take my warmer pink and put a bit of yellow in it and see what happens. No. I'm not sold. I'm going to try my cool pink now. I got a little water in my brush. so it's runny. Yeah, I like the cool pink. So I have a little red under there. I'm going to keep sticking out in some places, but I'm going to put in this nice pink shadow. And I might have to go over that again. And look, ooh. I'm going to go into the white a little bit with the pink, because that's what's kind of underneath, right? It gives that illusion of the depth of the darker colors underneath. Get even a little bit back here. Not too much, but a few little well-placed strokes.
Joelle has asked what you mixed with the white to get the color you're using now. I think she was talking about the neck though.
Hi! The FedEx man just came. He's the only person that would come to the house, right? No one else is allowed. All right, so what color did I use to mix this one up, you think?
I think she's talking about the neck,
The
not the pink.
neck.
I think. Maybe the neck and the pink.
All right, so this color is magenta and white, and then this one was red and white and a little yellow. Either yellow probably would work with that.
I think she might have been talking about the old one, the white of the neck.
Oh, the white is just white with a little bit, teeny bit of yellow in it. All right, oh, yes, okay, so now we have to put that wing in. What color are we gonna make that wing? Maybe this peachy color would work there. Let's have a look. Mine is a little too watery. I don't really like it watery at this point. I like it to watery to start the painting, but to build up with more opaque layers. So I'm going to mix up a little more. Okay. All right. Still a little watery, isn't it? And I'm hesitant to cover all that up, but it really is in, now I'm going back into my cool pink, and it really is in the shadows, so, you know, there really isn't any of that light in there, is there? And so I'm using both pinks now to kind of make this shape. It's all about the shapes. All right. So that area needs some more help, but we're gonna let it dry. Then we're gonna go back in with some of the darker red and really finesse it a little bit more. I need to look and see where I want to go next. Oh, okay. Well, while we're over here, we can do that area. Now, I want to more yellow into that peachy color. Let's mix up more of an orange for that area, because it is kind of orange anyway on there. But I kind of just make my own colors up sometimes, don't I? So I'm gonna leave these really light bits because they are truly in the light there. So I think they would add something to my painting. I wanna leave some of the dark bits and some of the light bits. So I'm just touching lightly to make the bigger shape. A little bit more yellow. And if this was dry, I would certainly go over this with this color, because the feathers do go over the wing there. Look, there's some little bits that are orange back here, which is nice to add. And I actually like this color too, to kind of go up here into the under part of your the white a little bit too. Mix up those colors a little. Now it's tricky, but you could go up into here more, but I wouldn't recommend it just yet, because I think this value is too dark. It's gonna look funny. It's gonna break up this nice shape too much. I think that we need a lighter value to kind of go into there. So while I'm talking about it, maybe we just do it, right? So I'm going to mix up a little bit of a little darker yellow. And then I can go up here a little bit into this area. See how it adds a little bit, and I'll show you real close up when I'm done. It subtly adds some definition in the area, but it doesn't totally break up the shape that you've got going. Yeah, I do like that. And see, that's kind of still wet. But I think I'm going to come back in here and put some nice yellow bits in there. There is kind of a stray yellow part down here in the wing. Oh, you know what? We can, what do you think about a yellow feet? They're kind of pink, kind of yellow. But I think we've got enough of the pinks and reds that it would be nice to have a little contrasting color down there. And so I'm going to put some yellow and define my feet a little bit. Now notice how I left that red part. Oh, let me show you. I left that red part that had run down in my leg there because it kind of acts as a nice shadow, you know, behind the leg, giving the leg a little bit more form. And you can see maybe closer now to what I did with the yellow up in here and the white. What am I going to do with that red, huh? Let's see if it'll do the same thing, kind of act as a nice shadow part. Right. Certainly not done, but done enough for now. Anywhere else? Could put this nice yellow. How about maybe up here on the eye a little bit? Maybe not. I'm gonna just try to blend that in a little bit. I just kind of had a little water on my brush to blend it in a little bit. I wasn't thrilled with that up there. You know what we didn't do, what I didn't do, is there's a wonderful little fluffy little bit that is right here on a rooster. And on our rooster, it's not real prominent, but I know it's there. I painted it before. And so it adds a nice lightness to the back where we've got a lot of darkness. So I would like to add that. And I'm going to go back to my white with the yellow. I got a lot of water in my brush. It's causing problems. So I'm going to take my paper towel and get it all out. All right. Let's make this nice fluffy bit. So we're going over a very dark area here. Might not cover, but it is covered. This white is very thick, this gesso, so it's got that going for it. And notice how I'm being very careful again, where I'm just laying down, like, because some parts you're going to fall in love with of your painting. You're not going to want to cover them up. So if you really like a part, you want to be careful, not to cover it up if you can. And then I'm still thinking about that this is a shape. I'm not thinking that this is individual little fluffy bits. It's going to work best for me if I leave it as a shape. So I'm kind of connecting them, you see. There we go. Oh, that's good. That's enough. Does its job. Yeah. Well, this is just coming along. And now I'm feeling that I want to even put a little more light on my feet with this. Make them a little... Now, maybe not all of them, huh? Because they are in the shadow here, right? So let's just put a little lightness on some of them. Those were definitely in the shadow, so I won't do those. Okay. Back to the yellow. Now we're getting to the stage where we're really starting to finish some areas. So I've mixed up a little more yellow, and I wanted to put in some highlights here. That's nice. Nice. Oops. Got a yellow blob. Back to the feet, because you're gonna, once you have a color in your hand, you want to look where else you could put it in the painting. And now I see somewhere where it needs to be. We did this nice shadow here, right? But it looks kind of flat, right? So let's put some little feathers coming over that. Ah, break it up. That's good. Yep. I'm gonna put a little splotch out there, like some wild feathers. Here. Okay, you know what? I think we're ready to go back in with our red and define a little bit more. And I thank you for staying with me. My goodness, it's noon already. Who knew? But you know, doing the painting like this, as opposed to where I'm teaching in class, I'm really able to go slower and take my time and show you a lot of things in more detail than I'm able to in my class. So this is really good. I think that for me, I'm liking the process. So I hope you are too. I think I'm running out. Here we go. All right, back to red. So I want to get a little red on there. I'm going to think about where I'm going to go with this. And I think I'm going to stick with just that pure red. My little brush. And then this is where we, see, we put the comb on, right? Then we went into it with the background, and now we're going to go on top of it and redefine it even more. So it's kind of like a big push and a pull of paint to get it where you want it. Now I'm not covering up the whole area because I like how a lot of that looks, but I do want to kind of finesse it a little and make my shapes a little bit more interesting. And that's okay. That's enough for up there right now. And I'm going to go into my my wattle a little bit with a few strokes of red. And the red does come up a bit, doesn't it? Oh, and remember this little piece here, right? That adds a nice dimension, a nice shape in there. So now what I'm going to do is I want to finish my face. So I'm going to go into my pinks. And this one I think is the cooler pink. And I'm going to go around the eye with this pink. See how that looks? Oh, that's nice. Kind of comes. Comes back a little bit. Ooh. All right, let me show you. It's coming along. Yeah. All right, we got the pink. Where else can we put it? Or wait, the red too. We got the red and the pink we're doing. Let's go back to the red and get into some of the body with it. So I'm gonna throw some wild hairs. There we go. So it's just not like a straight line, you know, you want to break up the line a little bit. And remember I said with this area that we wanted to definitely go back in. And that looks a little bit more wingy to me, right? That shape. And I'm gonna define these legs a little bit more because they're kind of out of whack. I'm going to stick a little red in here, right? Because this area is very blue, right? We want to integrate it with the painting. Now's the time to do that. I don't know if that's going to work. There. So what's left? A little bit more on the tail and this area down here. A lot of this can be almost done. I like the face a lot. That's pretty much done. I want to go and carve out my beak a little bit more. Yeah. So let's work on the tail feathers, and for that we're going to use a lighter blue than we have on there. So we've got the first layer, which was that darker purpley blue. We've got another lighter blue on top of that, and I think it would benefit by even having a lighter blue, a real pretty, I'm going to mix manganese. I hope it's not too watery. Then I'm gonna look. Remember, we're always looking, seeing what's going on. I think it would best be served by a bigger brush because you always want to use the biggest brush that you can, or I do anyway, because I like a looser kind of a painting. And by using a small brush, you get kind of fussy with your strokes, and I don't like the fussy strokes, at least not until the end. All right, so I've got my nice blue, and I'm gonna now definitely. All right, remember to said the sun's coming here, right? So it's definitely gonna have a nice little lighted area there, right on top. That's a little curvy, something like that. wondering, yeah, if we can make a little, do you see those feathers that are kind of, like you can kind of see between them? Now I don't want to do the whole thing because I think that might get too fussy, but I've got a lot of that feel going on over in the body where I've got a lot of marks that I've made, so it is nice to repeat that feel over here too, a little bit with the marks. There, I just threw one out because I like that. Mine are running a little bit. And so now, I didn't do a lot, just did a little. I could always do more, but I'm gonna stop and take this color and put it in other places around the painting. And that's gonna help bring it all together. Even though there isn't really any blue or this kind of blue in maybe the area I'm gonna put it in. And, but I'm gonna, remember, if it's the same value, look, it's the same value, that orange and that blue. So it works. They play well together. Oh, now, see what I did there? That's not good. I put two marks that were the same mark right next to each other. So it doesn't look very good, does it? We either want one to be longer or thicker or something, so gotta change that. And I don't want a lot. You know, I don't want it to be a lot, but I do want a few little marks. And then I'm gonna go in and with my small brush, and I've got it's really watery and I don't want it watery for this next part especially. I'm gonna mix up the same color, but just maybe a hair lighter because I want to do that part. Remember that part in the rooster's head that is got that light bit like on its cheek, and this is the part that you know, your painting is coming together now. Really, it's coming alive with these last marks, and it's exciting at this part. And you've been patient, and you have waited to get here. So I'm looking at the big head, and I'm going to put this blue shape in there. Kind of like a little oval, right? All right, now I'm going back to my blue that I did for the background. I still have some left, so that's good, right? And I'm gonna try to help this beak out. It's kind of smaller, a little pointier. And I think that it's going to need another little flick of the white paint over it, but it's getting there.
Maybe show all the spots up close, even the tail stuff.
Okay. So here is what we have so far. I'm thinking that the foreground needs some help. And so I'm gonna mix up a nice brighter green, right? Because this is a very flat area down here, but it's good for a base, right? You want to have that darker base poking through. And so now I'm going to mix up a lighter green, maybe a little more lemony, a real kind of pretty green to go on top. I think I need a new plate. This is my last plate. I better be done soon. Yikes. Okay. Big brush. And a little bit of blue. Let's see what we can get. That's really limey, isn't it? I'm going to add some white in there. Got a gloppy brush. But maybe I can use it. Okay. So I want to cover a lot of this. And so I'm going to start just making some random marks in here, just to keep it fresh and from it looking like, you don't want soldiers, you know, you don't want dee, you know, along there. You want it to look random, kind of. And now I'm gonna make some little grasses. Now that I have in a nice shape of a color. Just a few, right? To imply. Plus it has that same feel that the rest of the painting does with the little marks that I'm making. I don't like the feet. So I need to help, they need a little help. Do your sides, right? And so remember what I said is I have this lovely green out. Can I put it anywhere else in the painting to kind of bring it together? Kind of tricky, right? Where can I stick a little green? Maybe in the highlights there. It's the same value. Yeah, I like that, right? Okie doke. So let's go back to the background color a little bit and tie that in with the horizon line and with the sky now. So luckily I made enough for that background color, and I'm gonna put some marks in to indicate that it's kind of, you know, grassy up here too. Might want to redefine some of these other shapes, right? Now that, or at least cover them up if they didn't cover the first time. You know what? And that red blob is not doing it for me. So I'm going to cover it right up. Yeah. We're not done with the tail, everybody. It needs some final bits on it. So what I'm going to do is kind of go back into that original blue, and I have enough magenta on there to, what we want is that dark color. We want that dark blue, and it's mixing with some of my white on here. At this stage of the painting, there's a lot of mixing going on, a lot of intermixing. What I can do now is redefine a little bit of this blue. And this is still wet, right? So I don't really want to go into that, but this isn't. So I want to go over, bring that down into that shape. I want to define a little bit more. See how that mixed with the white? I don't like that, but it did. I'm going to bring this down a little over this. Again, we're in that white. But you see how that kind of just almost finished out the original shapes a little bit of the tail feathers. Yeah, I like it. And do we have this color anywhere else? Maybe we put a little in the shadow. That looks good. I like that. We have a little in the eyeball. Maybe put a little in the little purple up here. Nah. You can, if you're quick, dip your paper towel in and wipe out. Right, so on my painting, you know, everyone's is going to be a little different. Now you're looking to see what is sticking out to you, what's looking wrong, and I see that I still don't like those feet, and the beak needs help. And then we're going to be done. And I'm going to try to wrap it up here because you've been with me. You've been patient for so long. And it's lunchtime, isn't it? All right, so I'm mixing up a little yellow in my white, right? And hopefully this beak will pop out for me. Please. Uh-oh, the bug man's here. Oh, and now, guess what I could do? Remember before I was wanting to put some of these little wild hairs up here going into the comb, and now I can do that because I'm happy with that. Well, they're not really hairs, they're feathers, aren't they? Wild feathers. I'm gonna have a little bit one coming. Coming there. Okay, cool. I stuck a little bit out there and I didn't like that. Okay, so almost with the beak, right? Almost, not quite. I'm gonna mix up a little bit of, I'm thinking peach now for these a little bit more, these legs. So yellow and red and white, making a nice little goldeny peachy color. And then actually it's very similar to the original color that was on there, right? And so I like that. I like that. They don't have to be perfect. Certainly not, but they're a little bit better. I'm going to take just a slight darker orangey peachy color and just maybe do the bottom. Or maybe it should be a little bit more, a little pinkier. Because I want these to feel grounded, right? And by having them all the same color, they don't quite feel like they're in the shadow. So that helps a little bit, I think. Right? And then if I'm really being fussy, I could continue to work in with that green there, but I think we're almost done. I'm not going to do that. I want to just that get underneath that beak just a little bit more better to define it. And now I'm going to show everybody up close.
Yeah, we've got requests for the beak and the feet specifically. Someone says, Pamela says hers needs help. What did you mix to get the peach?
Yeah, the peach was the red and yellow and white, but more red. And then those darn feet. Sometimes they just, you know, it works if you just leave the original, you know, paint around the original color that you put on. But today, they're being fussy. Requiring a bit more work. Oops. I'm kind of just putting a little, I got lost my pink in there on the bottom, so I was putting it again. And I am gonna go into that green just a wee bit more because that might help. So I'm mixing my blue with a little yellow, seeing if I can get close to this color here because this is bothering me, right? Yeah. Now I'm closer to that color, and which I don't want it to be. I want it to still be dark. There. There we go. There. It's always a good idea to go back into those negative shapes. Yeah. All right, I think I'm done. I think I am. As I go back into the beak. right? Oh, look what I did. Well, it's not too bad, is it? It's kind of a blob part on there, but you know what? I like that addition to the green up in the red area, 'cause, you know, green and complementary, so that looks pretty cool. And I'm going to show you now. Look at my hands. I'm going to show you now the whole thing done. My feet, tail feathers. I like him. I'll go ahead and I'll post him too on my feed. Take off my gloves and turn back around here and say thank you for joining me today. What you can do now is I want to see all of your roosters, so please post them on the comments and I will comment back. And I can't wait to see what you've done. You can find me on my website at chroma38.com. I'm on Instagram, 2 Instagrams, Kathleen Broderick Art for all of my fine art, and then Chroma 30A is for more of the teaching materials. Thank you for joining me. This is a great way for us to be connected while we're all family's doing well, and I really hope yours is too. So stay well, have a great day, and I will see you next time.